closing ceremony. The next Thursday is the closing ceremony, not this Thursday, but next Thursday, which is the 15th. The 15th. So please be here if you can. Make your best effort to be here if you're in the practice period, because we get to ask the Shuso questions. And if you're not here to ask questions, she doesn't have things to answer. So I look forward to that. So I thought what I would do tonight is I want to do a little review of the Heart Sutra, and then we're going to focus on the mantra. And because I'm not going to be able to pull out all these friends again, I brought Hakawin, and I brought Kobin, and I brought Thich Nhat Hanh, and I brought Red Pine, and I brought Musung, who I had the Heart of the Universe, Exploring the Heart of the Heart Sutra, which we haven't heard from at all, and the Heart Sutra by Kaz Tanahashi. Some of these people we haven't heard from at all, so they were all clamoring. I brought them all. So we began with Avalokiteshvara, Bodhisattva of Compassion, coursing in Prajna Paramita. Found someplace a description of coursing in the transparency of Prajna Paramita, body, heart, and mind not divided. Prajna Paramita, the Paramitas, coursing in what bodhisattvas know and naturally and spontaneously practice what arises. It's what we're all practicing to be able to manifest towards ourselves and the world. The paramita of generosity, of ethical behavior, of patience or inclusivity, of enthusiastic effort, of understanding, of the wisdom of no separation. It says, Bodhisattva is fully vibrant in their manifestation. Isn't it beautiful to be fully vibrant in the manifestation of generosity, with a deep understanding that everything is relational. So of course you want to take care of everything, because everything is you and you are everything. And it's an ongoing practice, because we also know things happen and we think things happen. And there's nothing happening at all. It's all arising and passing and coursing in the emptiness, fullness of going beyond boundaries and distinctions. All things are as we think they are. It would be complete delusion to try to talk yourself out of that. There is an election, a follow-up election happening in Georgia. It did happen. The polls are closed. Maybe we'll know by the time we leave. It matters. Who knows how it will matter? But to course in the wisdom of Prajna Paramita, we can experience our hopes, our fears, our likes, our dislikes, and more know the open-heartedness of bowing to each thing, so that we're more and more free to respond. So Bodhisattva knows there is nothing to attain. Or as Kobin brought forward this weekend, Kobin says, better word than attain is to fulfill. So we're just more and more fulfilling and stepping back into the fabric of everything. I know who I want to win. It's important. And in the fabric of past, present, and future, everything arising and passing, we will just keep taking a breath after breath, and of bringing forth compassion and wisdom and understanding for all beings, because what a bodhisattva knows is emptiness, not as nihilism, but as freedom. Relying on prajna paramita, then the mind knows is without hindrance. Without hindrance, there is no fear. Far beyond all inverted views, one realizes nirvana. All Buddhas of past, present, and future rely on prajna paramita and attain unsurpassed, complete, perfect enlightenment. So the way a bodhisattva lives, our vow, over and over and over, is without walls of the mind. When you sit zazen, you sit, when we sit like this weekend, when we sat facing the wall. You sit facing the wall of your own mind. You sit facing the wall of the human mind. It's like, oh my goodness. And oh my goodness. What a completely habituated mind this is, and what amazing creativity and possibilities can arise if I can just enter this flowing, this accepting and bowing, each thing as it is. Therefore, know the prajna paramita as the great miraculous mantra, the great bright mantra, the supreme mantra, the incomparable mantra, which removes all suffering and is true, not false. This is not equivocal. Therefore, we proclaim the prajna paramita mantra, the mantra that says gate, gate, para, gate, parasamgate, bodhi svaha. Okay, so now I'm going to share different commentaries about this mantra. Red Pine says, with this mantra, we enter the womb of the Tathagata that we were never separate from. The mantra is the womb of the Tathagata. Isn't that beautiful language? Which she creates, prajna paramita, creates through sound. Remember, Avalokiteshvara hears the sounds of the world. So prajna paramita creates through sound, which we enter when we chant the Heart Sutra. So chanting the Heart Sutra is entering something deep and womb-like and beyond our cognitive mind. And if you just let the image and the felt sense of that. Red Pine says, some mothers sing lullabies. Prajna paramita sings this mantra. It's a lullaby that's been passed to us through time. And it's a lullaby that has the power to give birth to new states of consciousness, has the power to give birth to the world, and to each one of us, fresh and new. He says mantras are knowledge that transcends our normal understanding of knowledge. You enter a womb or a deep cave. You listen deeply to the sound. And the sound enters your cells, and it is your cells making the sound. And it's the cells of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas across time and space that's passed right here. All you have to do is say, gate, gate, bar, gate, which we're going to do. You'll see. Okay, so Kaz Tanahashi. This is what Kaz has to say about mantras. He says, mantra comes from the verb man, M-A-N, which means to imagine or to set one's heart on. In the ancient Vedic tradition, which preceded Hinduism, and Hinduism preceded Buddhism in India, mantra meant sacred utterance, encompassing speech, text, prayer, or song of praise. And in Hinduism, which is what the Buddha grew up in, mystical verses are believed to be a sonic form of divinity. Remember when we would all Om and everything? I mean, Om actually is that if you condense the whole Heart Sutra, it's been condensed down into one page, but if you condensed it down into one sound, the sound would be Om. So we weren't so far off. Over time, the practice of reciting magical sonic formulas for gaining power over objects or problems became central. You just chanted. An early sutra says that the Buddha first prohibited the incantation of such verses because he was trying to change the tradition. He was trying to bring the tradition, I think, or to open a tradition that was more embodied and to go beyond magical thinking into the world, caring for the world. But then the Buddha permitted their use as a remedy for pain or disease. So first he said no, and then he understood that maybe there was something in the mantra and that we human beings, Kaz says here, prayer for healing is a common human need found in all traditions. Thus, the elements of magical chanting were practiced for many centuries before the Heart Sutra was even formed. So instead of grabbing it away, he gave it back. In the 2,500 line version of the Prajnaparamita text, of which the Heart Sutra is condensed into one, there is some description of chanting a mantra or a dharani, which is another name for it, before it was developed as a practice of magic. And the Buddha says, this perfection of wisdom is the entrance to all the syllables and the door to the dharanis in which the bodhisattva, the great being, should be trained. If you take up this deep perfection of wisdom, bear it in mind, recite it, and study it, that is the gateway. You will bear all dharmas in mind. It goes beyond ordinary language and thus keeps one from dualistic thinking. In this way, it is regarded as a method of concentration and remembrance and is often used for gaining mystical power in meditation. Of course, we're not interested in that. Here's what D.T. Suzuki says about it. The Heart Sutra is radical enough to proclaim that the totality of Buddhist practice is this mantra. You want to know the heart of Buddhism? It's this mantra. What if you just devoted yourself your whole life to gate, part just like faith? D.T. Suzuki says, utterly exhausted intellectually and emotionally, Avalokiteshvara finally made a final leap. The last tie which held him to the world of relativity and self-power, thinking you can do it yourself, completely snapped, and Avalokiteshvara found herself on the other shore. And overwhelmed with his feelings, he could only keep uttering, gate, gate. Isn't that wonderful? Like completely overwhelmed by the experience of not being caught in the samsaric world of duality. Just gate, gate. And gate became the mantra of the Prajnaparamita. The chanting of this mantra in this regard has been one of the oldest continuous single practices in Buddhism. One of the oldest continuous single practices in Buddhism. It inspires, guards, and heals with utmost intensity. So if you get nothing else out of this practice period, just gate, gate. Let it reverberate in your whole body and your heart and your mind instead of thinking. The sound helps us just be here and brings forth transformation and healing and the possibility of happiness. Dogen says that the gathering together and the concentrated use of our hearts and our minds like this is a, quote, minor miracle. Each moment of practice and each breath we take is a great miracle. And miracles are practiced 3,000 times in the morning and 800 times in the evening, arriving all the way together, awakening joy. That's one translation. You could just think, if you're depressed, if you're anxious, if you're afraid, whatever it is that's arising, if you're bored, you could just keep coming back and going, gate, para, gate, parasam, gate, bodhisvaha. It's a constant reminder of our awakened nature, of who we truly are. Wisdom beyond wisdom. Thich Nhat Hanh says, gone beyond, from suffering to freedom, from fear to fearlessness, from forgetfulness to awakeness, from self-clinging to boundless oneness. Gate, para, gate, gone beyond, making the leap. Para samgate, everyone arriving fully together. You can't make this leap by yourself because there is no self to make the leap. So when you do it and remember moment after moment, all beings wake up. Can we say it with our whole being? Musang says, to see others as separate from oneself is to live in delusion and to not deny one's own Buddha nature. To see others as sharing in one's own Buddha nature is to affirm one's own essential humanity. In making a free choice of compassion for all beings, we are doing no more than giving expression to our Buddha nature. It is only in compassion that wisdom and prajna finds its fullest expression. It's a mantra of compassion. Gate, para, gate, par sam, gate, bodhisvaha. Wei Ching, ancient China, said, a mantra like this points directly at the mind. Because it's neither moving or still, you can't use the mind to find the mind. And because the mind has no beginning or end, you can't use the mind to put an end to the mind. And because there's no inside, outside, or in between, if you look for the mind, there's no place to find it. If there's no place to find it, then you can't find it. Therefore, you should realize there is no mind at all. And because there's no mind at all, and because there is no mind at all, delusion and confusion can't affect you. Wherever you're caught, gate, para, sam, gate, bodhisvaha. Therefore, know the prajna paramita as the great miraculous mantra. Hakuin says, cherish the great mantra of your own nature. It turns a hot iron ball into the sweetest, finest mana. Heaven, hell, and the world right here on earth, a snowflake disappearing into a glowing furnace. Great and glorious mantra, round and perfect in every being. Cast calm illumination over the hills and rivers of the world. The vast barrier ocean of our age-old sins vanish like a foam bubble on the waves, like a spark in the eye. Last winter, the plum was bitter cold, a dash of rain, a burst of bloom. Its shadow is cast by the pale moonlight. Its subtle fragrance floats on the spring breeze. Yesterday, you were only a snow-covered tree. Today, your boughs are starred with blossoms. What cold and suffering have you weathered, venerable queen of the flower realm? Gate, gate, parasam gate, bodhisvaha, removes all suffering. The Four Noble Truths. There is suffering, there's a cause of suffering, there's an end to suffering, and there's a path out of it. Avalokiteshvara told Shariputra that in emptiness, there's no suffering, no source of suffering, no release from suffering, no path leading out of suffering. It just points directly to the heart mind. Just proclaim the Prajna Paramita mantra over and over. Backward step. Just keep coming back. Thich Nhat Hanh. A mantra is something you utter when your body, your mind, and your breath are at one in deep concentration. When you dwell in that deep concentration, you look deeply into things and see them as clearly as you see an orange that you hold in the palm of your hand. Looking deeply into the five skandhas, Avalokiteshvara saw the nature of interbeing and overcame all pain. She became completely liberated. It was in that state of deep concentration, joy, and liberation that he uttered this powerful mantra. This mantra is the state of deep concentration. It's not separate from. Avalokiteshvara mantra is gate, gate, para, gate, parasam gate, bodhisvaha. Gate means gone, gone from suffering to liberation, gone from forgetfulness to mindfulness, gone from duality to non-duality. Gate means gone, gone. Gate means gone all the way to the other shore. So this mantra is said in a very strong way. Gone, gone, gone all the way over. In Parasamgate, Sam means everyone, the Sangha, the entire community of beings. Everyone gone over to the other shore. Bodhi is the light inside, enlightenment or awakening. You see, and the vision of reality liberates you. Svaha, a cry of joy and triumph, like hallelujah. Gone, gone, gone all the way over. Everyone gone to the other shore. Enlightenment, Svaha. This is what the Bodhisattva uttered. When we listen to this mantra, we should bring ourselves into that state of attention and concentration so we can receive the strength emanated by Avalokiteshvara. Coben says, each heartbeat is another sound of gate, gate, para, gate, parasam gate. Whatever we experience, however we feel this experience, it is our perception of existence itself, constantly changing, uttering in a silent voice, gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate. What if you knew that was the sound of the whole world whispering in your ear? Like a dream appearing and disappearing at the same time. Constantly, this mantra frees you from your dream. You dream, but you are freed from your dream. Each moment we sense something new, experiencing our existence in many phenomenal figures. It is the same situation as a dreaming person, whether awake or asleep, daydreaming or reaching a clear understanding of something. These words, gate, gate, para, gate, parasamgate, are like sounds of birds. High voices, low voices, sharp voices. If you wish to get the meaning of gate, gate, listen to the birds. Hear what they are saying and how they are feeling. Go out tomorrow, listen to a bird. Gate, gate, para, gate, parasamgate, bodhisvaha. Or gate can be heard as the sounds of violin strings or the snoring of a sleeping person. If you know what it is saying, I am here, I am, you are. There is no dirt on the ground, no leaves in the tree, no green in the leaves. You understand your mind is everything which is yourself, and everything exists as it is. Gate, gate. Parasamgate. Oh, so here's what I thought we'd do, is we'll enter the chanting.